that I will be recording every session, mainly for if you are here in the Zoom session, you have a question about something that we went over in class, I will repost that information to your Google Classroom. I have a YouTube channel that I used for science this last year. And once you get that link, the easiest thing to do was, I mean, most of you know how YouTube works. Subscribe to my channel, and anytime I post a new video, it'll be there for you. And you'll have access to your Zoom sessions. You'll have access to the other classes' Zoom sessions. Again, for the most part, they're going to be the same, but if you want to watch the other ones, you're more than welcome to. And I'm going to try to upload the information for speakers onto those Zoom sessions as well. So if we can't do it and we do it live, I'll record those as well. All right. So let's go ahead and take care of attendance. So when I call your name, I'm going to have my spreadsheet up. So for the most part, all of you have your name on there, so I can kind of tell who you are. There are a couple that I'm not sure. And like I said, I know we are missing a few students. I know I had a couple students switch because of some different things, which is fine. But when I do call your name, could you at least just unmute, tell me you're here, and we'll call it good. And I'll come up with a way to do attendance every day. And I won't have my screen up here. I see a couple people trying to get in and get out. So if somebody does try to get in, just let me know and I'll admit them. So I'll kind of come back and forth and check to make sure that no one's hanging out in the waiting room. Okay. So like I said, I'm just going to go through my roster of what I have for everyone who signed up for the May session. And we'll go from there. Ariana, are you here?
No.
All right, Cooper. Jordan Dickus.
Here.
All right. Finally a good start. Zoe.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Nick Hansen. Grant Harder. Noah.
Here.
Braden Howie.
Here.
Bo Jones.
Here.
Jace. Jund. Braden Karkalik.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cade.
Here.
Claire.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Ruth.
Here.
Jaden Lucan. Charlie.
Here.
Grace.
Here.
Valerie.
Here.
Brendan.
Here.
Preet. Gracie Rife.
Here.
Connor Sperry.
Here.
Connor Streeter. Ashlyn Susie.
Here.
Luke Thompson. Peyton Tritz. Peyton, I see you just face off there.
Oh, I said here. I don't know if you heard me.
No, I think you're still muted.
Oh, okay.
All right, I got you. Sophie.
Here.
Grant Vandenal. Kylie.
Here.
Colin Vaughn. And Jackson.
Here.
All right. Okay. Also, same thing. If somebody does bring something up important in the chat, thanks, Brendan, for bringing that up. If there is something in the chat that I'm missing, someone just unmute and let me know. Let's see. All right, so Rachel, I've got you in. Which Grant just joined? Vandenhull or Harder?
Harder.
Okay. Thanks, Grant. All right, and Luke Thompson, you are here. Is there anyone's name that I did not call other than Rachel? I got you, Rachel. Because again, I know some people had to switch to make schedules work out. If so, just unmute and tell me who you are or throw your name in the chat. All right. Got 30 participants, so it's looking better. Okay, so next I'm going to go to sorry, just trying to get everything squared away here. Next, I'm going to go to my sheet, I normally don't show this. It really doesn't give any specific information, but normally during class we go over payments and things like that. So anyone that has not made a full payment left, just make sure, talk to your parents. It's a lot easier if you haven't gone to get the book yet. When you go to get the book, just make sure that you submit the payment along with it. If there are any issues with that, please have your parents contact me. The biggest thing is to make sure that you are paid in full by the end of the class, because I cannot issue you any certificates if you haven't paid the full amount. So I'm going to go ahead and go shared screen here. So can everyone see my screen now? Just a nod of the head. Perfect. All right. All right. So the ones in orange are the ones that I have here now. Again, I know some of you may not have gone to pick up the book, which is why a payment's still outstanding. So it's not necessarily hold on one second. Sorry, I just got to send a couple emails here for a couple that are trying to get in. Okay. See how that works. All right. Like I said, if there is anyone trying to get in, just let me know. I had 5 emails from different ones trying to get in, and I think couple of you already did get in, which is great. Again, I know this is kind of a process. Hopefully we can get this figured out today. All right. All right, so can everyone see my shared screen now again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, I'm just gonna run through. If your name's on here, just let me know, sorry, if your name's on here, I'll let you know how much you owe or if you're good. So Jordan Diggus, you are good. Zoe, the final payment is $150. Owen, final payment is $150. Grant Harder, final payment is $150. Noah, Braden Howie, Bo Jones, or sorry, Noah and Braden Howie. You're good to go. Bo Jones, 150. Braden, 150. Cade, you are good. Claire, you are good. Patrick, you are good. Ruth, 150. Charlie, Grace, Valerie, Brendan, you are all good. Let's see. Gracie, Connor Sperry, you are good. Or wait, Gracie, you are good. Connor, 150. I know you are out of town. So I know that'll be in the future. Ashlyn, you are good. Luke, you are good. Peyton and Sophie, 150. Kylie, you are good. And Jackson, 150. All right, any questions on those? All right, let me get back here to see if there's anyone else that I missed. All right, Haley, you are here. Haley, with your recent sign up, your total, let me just make sure I don't have you in the other one here.
You're in the wrong class. You're supposed to be in 8:30. Yeah, because it says right there, the 8:30 class is that meeting in code. That's why you couldn't get in. See?
Were you planning on doing the 8:30 class, Haley?
They didn't ever say, they just sent her an email. She was originally signed up for May.
Okay. Yep, this would be the class then.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. So, Jace, are you in yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so your payment is good. Okay. So hopefully that takes care of most of that. Rachel, 150. I'll make sure I'll get you moved to this class. All right, Cooper, you are here. Got you marked down. Obviously, as you saw in the payment, you are good. Nick, you are here. Got you marked down. 150 is your final payment. So again, if there's anyone else that I missed, just unmute, let me know, or type in the chat and I'll check there periodically. All right, so everyone good as far as payment? They know what they need. Okay, and like I said, for those who joined in, again, if you haven't gotten your book yet, today won't be a big deal for this class because we're just going over administrative stuff, getting paperwork taken care of, and just kind of going over the basic information for driver's ed. So if you haven't picked up the book yet, going to get it sometime later today will be fine because basically our first assignment will be after the class for you guys to work on. So any questions on that? All right. So next thing, I'm just going to revisit some of what I talked about when I first signed in. Again, I know some of you were having troubles getting into Google Classroom, which is understandable. I get it. If at all possible, as we go forward, try not to log in, say at 7:58 or 7:59, just in case you do have issues. It really is important that we start on time. I'll usually open up the classroom about 5 minutes prior and start admitting people in. So just make sure that you can be set to be in the waiting room. Because obviously, since we're not meeting face-to-face for 30 hours, it is really important to make sure that we do meet in the limited time that we do have. Because again, a lot of this will be discussion, answering questions, and going over some of the important things to make sure that you understand what happens, outside of the class. So just in case anybody did miss some of the emails, I know Mr. Somervold sent out an email talking about the board's decision to continue driver's ed. I sent him an email to send out to the district about information to gain access to Google Classroom. And I know some didn't receive those emails. I'm not sure why. I don't know if there was just an issue with having emails set up in campus, because I know that's how a lot of those emails go out. So I tried to answer best I could in the last night and this morning to get everyone squared away. I probably had about 40 plus emails in about a 3-hour stretch last night. So it was just a lot easier to give out all the information that I could. So, but with that, as far as the class goes, like I said, this class will meet every day from 7 to about 8:30. The other class will meet from 8:30 to 10. So I don't necessarily want it to be a habit per se. But if you absolutely have a conflict and have to get into the 8:30 session and not the 7 o'clock session, if you could just please contact me prior to that. I don't necessarily want it to be a habit of, oh, well, I slept in and I'm just going to get up at 8:30. Because I do want to have an even balance for discussion, not just having, 5 people in one Zoom session and 65 in another. It just really doesn't work out well that way, which is why I tried to keep everything balanced between May's and June session, which is now Zoom 1 and Zoom 2 session. So with that, I do appreciate you guys being here this morning. I know it's early, but I also know that you want to be here because driving is an awesome responsibility. And we do take that very seriously. But also keep in mind, it is a responsibility. It's a privilege, not a right. So it is important that we take this class seriously. And I hope that by the time we're done in a couple of weeks that, you have a lot of appreciation for the class, that it is something that is important to be mindful of every time you get behind the wheel. So, and I do have a couple of projects that will hopefully help kind of keep you mindful of some of the common mistakes that people do on a day-to-day basis. So I don't have the complete course outlined yet because, like I said, this is completely new for me. But I will tell you that your grade will consist of a couple of different components in the class. There will be 10 tests in the class as we will go through 10 chapters. When you get the book, I'm sure some of you have thumbed through it, looked through it. There's a lot more than 10 chapters. But the 10 chapters that we cover in the first portion, I think are pretty ideal for the class. As you look beyond into some of the other chapters, for the most part, we will cover those through speakers and actually the driving portion. So that will, by the time you are done with your 36 hours of driver's ed, we will have covered a good majority of the book, whether it's hands-on or in the classroom in the next 2 weeks. So like I said, there will be 10 tests. All the tests are multiple choice or multiple guess for some of you. There's no short answer. There's no essay. There's no fill in the blank. In some cases, your multiple choice are A and B, true, false. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So with the tests, the one thing I will ask is we will take the test in class. So we will take the test in the Zoom session. So one thing I need you to do is I need you to have video set up. Okay, so obviously I know some of you are on video. That's great. Some of you are not on video today. That's fine. I only ask that you have access to video when you actually do take the test. The test will be through Google Form located in Google Classroom. I will also have one presentation that you'll be required to do, and we do it in class. It's not that big of a deal, but all I need you to do is I need you to research a modern article that's driving related. Okay, pretty simple. I don't care what the subject is, it just has to be driver related. So something related to driving, and you just need to do two things. Number one, tell us what the article's about. Okay, so that would be 3 to 5 sentences. You don't have to write it down. You can just read the article and tell us what the article's about. And number two, why it's important or relates to driver's education. That's it. So for the most part, my students' presentations in the past took anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. And again, they were up there as long as they needed to present. So again, even the second question of why the relevance to driver's ed, again, if your article is related to driving, then it definitely relates to driver's ed. But obviously in your answer, it won't be, oh, my article relates to driver's ed because it's about driving. Well, I need something a little more specific than that. You know, it relates to driver's ed because it's talking about safety, or it's talking about the purchase of a vehicle or the inspection of a vehicle or something along those lines that, you know, and that's something that we need to do as drivers, you know, especially as you read some of the chapters, you'll see some of the different components that may relate to the article that you find. In the past, I had made my students get a physical copy of a newspaper and find an article. Okay, I'm going to back off on that. You can find something online. Just tell me where you got it from, so you can give credit to whatever article it is you're reading. So again, it's not something that should take very long. I would prefer it to be in the last year or two. I'd like it to be current. If you think it's relevant, and say you find an article from 10 years ago. If it's an article from 10 years ago, but still really relevant today, that's fine. But please note that, you know, tell me it was from 2011 and, you know, they're talking about seatbelts then and seatbelts are still important now, you know, something like that. So that'll be one of the projects that I'm going to have you do. So one follow-up question is when is that due? Well, it's due before next Friday. So you will get credit by presenting your article on Zoom during one of the class periods. So if you get it knocked out tomorrow, then you're done. If you do it next week, you'll get the points for it then. Okay. I prefer you to get it done sooner rather than later, because I really don't want to have 30 students presenting on Friday, especially if we have to finish a test or something like that. I'd rather have the last day be set for, you know, whatever needs to be done, whatever needs to be finished up and finalized. So we don't have to worry about a bunch of people trying to finish up their assignments. Okay. There's a couple other projects I plan on having you guys do. Again, aside from the homework and everything, there will be a lot more work to do. But one of the projects that I plan on having you do is to take one of your cars at home, open up the hood, and identify some of the parts that you see. Again, we'll figure out how that's all going to work as far as getting graded for the assignment. One of the projects is I'm going to have you go to an intersection and sit for an hour. And I want you to record everything that happens at that intersection. I'm also going to have you keep a log when you drive with somebody else, whether it's your parents, a sibling, something like that. And just log what's going on. What are they doing? You know, things that they're doing right, things that they are doing wrong. Again, I'm not going to have you share with the class, but I will just have you submit that to me so I can at least read it, and you'll get the credit for it. So the completion of the assignments is basically how I'm going to grade a lot of those projects. With the assignments, we'll go over those in class. Again, I'll have you submit them. I'll go over the correct answer, but for the most part, I want those to be aids and tools to help you study for the test. The other thing that we will count as part of your grade is notes. I do want you to take notes. So one of the things that you will need for this class is a notebook. I want you to take notes on each of the chapters. Most of you have been in my class, so you know how this works. I will check notes like I checked your lab assignments. So you guys know what that means. Again, it's a little bit different. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably just call on a name and I'll just have you show me your notes on the video. I'm not going to have you take pictures and submit them, because then I'll just have to sit there and go through pictures. And when I graded 7th grade assignments, it took me 2 hours to grade one assignment, and that doesn't work for me. So for example, the way my screen looks is, Jace, you're in the top left-hand corner. So what I would do is I'd probably say, Jace, show me your notes. And then you would just hold up your notebook like this, and this is all of my notes, and I'll look at it and I'll say, all right, that's good. Then Peyton, you're next. Okay, and I'll just go through my list of Zooms, and that's how we'll do notes. Okay, and like I said, you should be taking notes anyways. I'm going to give you credit for doing that. Okay? Sound good? Any questions so far? Test, project, notes. All right. Let's see. Important thing about driver's ed. I don't think I have any certificates in here. I'm going to pull one up and share my screen with you. All right. So what I have on my screen is a certificate that some of you will get at the end of the classroom portion. Not all of you will get a certificate, but at the completion of driver's ed, after the driving portion, everyone will get a certificate then. But the classroom works a little bit different. And again, it just depends on where you are at. If you are currently 14 years old and you already have your permit, I am not going to give you a certificate. Okay. And the main reason for that is you don't need one. If you are not 14, you don't have your permit. And if you're 14 and don't have a permit by the end of the class, you will need one of these. Okay. The main reason for this is you can take this certificate down to the DMV and with all of your information, hand them the certificate, and then you will be able to get your permit without having to take the written test. Because passing my class is considered to be an equivalent to passing their test. All right. So everyone that needs a certificate at the end of the class will get one as long as they meet the requirements. Okay. So keep in mind, this is not a document that I made up. All I do is I modify your name. This is the Dakota Valley Driver Education Program. We have written and the driving part. So this is the only part that we will sign for at the end of the class. Obviously my name, I will sign this, and I already kind of put a date in there when I go to print it, and then I put a stamp right here. Okay. So the important thing is I want to read just this top portion to you because this is required by law for me. This form is to certify that, insert your name, a student in the Dakota Valley Driver Education Program has successfully completed a program approved by the Department of Education with a passing score of 80% or higher in the written and or drive portions of the class. So that means I can give you a certificate if you get an 80% or better. Okay, so what does that mean? 80% or higher, you pass the class. 79% or lower, you do not pass the class. Okay, so it is important to make sure that you do all the notes, do all the assignments, do all the projects, and most importantly, do your best on all of the tests. Okay. I will tell you, I have students every year who think they can just kind of wing through the tests and it's not a big deal. And then find out real quick that, oh crap, I'm not doing as I'm not doing as well as I thought I would. But I've also had people with notes and everything like that save their grade. So taking notes, doing the presentation, doing the projects were the difference between passing the class and failing the class. Okay, so it is important that you do your best work, because what I've also found is students that start strong don't have to finish strong. Because I've had students that have done well enough in the class to where they don't even need the points to take the last test. They already have enough points to pass. So obviously they're required to take the test, but you know, if you already have the required points to pass, do you really think you have to try in the last test? No. You know, again, I ask that you try your best on everything. But that's why it's really important to make sure that you start strong so you don't have to worry about getting a certain score on a class or on the last test just to pass the class. Okay, so it is really important that you stay focused, that driver's ed is your #1 educational priority for the next 2 weeks. Okay, it will be a lot of work, but I guarantee you it'll be worth it. Okay. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to any questions that you have for me. So I know how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Val.
With the article thing, we can like research one and find it and then present it anytime, right?
Absolutely. That's typically how I'm going to start class. So at 7 o'clock, I'll have everyone rolling into the Zoom session, and I'll just say, okay, who has an article? And probably what I'll do, I'll just utilize the chat. So if you have an article, you can just do this. I can type. I have one. Okay. So basically, when you type that you have one, I'll just go down the list, and that'll be the order and how you present. And then you would just say, you know, all right, Valerie, you're up. So then you tell us what your article is, like the name of the article. Just give us a brief summary of the article. Please don't read the article to us. Just tell us what it's about. Again, a good paragraph style works just fine. 3 to 5 sentences is more than enough to tell us what the article is about. Tell us why it's relevant to driver's ed, and then you're done.
Can you hear me?
Yep. What do you got?
Is the recording for the intersection a live video or like a video or written?
It's written.
All right.
So no, I don't need you to record an intersection for an hour. Just keep a log. What I was thinking about doing is just having you do a notebook journal, just with the time and what happened. I will create a spreadsheet log for you if you want to use that, because some of you, I have Excel on my phone, so I can manipulate a Google Sheet that way, and then I could just submit it electronically, which would be no big deal. But so if you prefer to use that, that's fine. If you would rather do the paper version, that's fine too. The paper version, I would just ask you to take a picture of it and then attach it to Google Classroom. I will ask this, for those of you that are on video, just kind of nod or shake your head. Has everyone been on Google Classroom before? Okay, so we got high school students and 8th graders. I know 7th graders did Google Classroom. Some acted like they didn't know what the crap they were doing in May, but it is what it is. Does everyone know how to submit an assignment to Google Classroom? Good. Did anyone have a Google Classroom where they had to submit an assignment by taking a picture of something? Everything was on Google Forms? Okay. All right, well, easy enough. You can attach, I had several 7th graders that took pictures of their science worksheets and send them to me. So again, I can create a Google form that has a spreadsheet on there, so you can submit that, or if you want to take a picture of your notebook, again, all I want to do is I just want to see it. I just want to see that you spent an hour's worth studying an intersection. That's it. But good question. Definitely don't need a video.
Can you hear me?
Yep. What do you got, Peyton?
So are you gonna like, because you let us know about like this article, but like for like the intersection and like the log, are you gonna let us know when like we're starting that, or like does that start like now too?
That'll start now. If you get done with class and you go out to an intersection and you grab a notebook, have at it. I will try and work on getting sheets set up. So as soon as I post that, the assignment's open. And again, that's something that'll be due by the end of class next week. So again, that's one of those things, do it sooner rather than later, because I would rather not have to correct 300 assignments the night before driver's ed is done. Because again, if you submit a lot of stuff late, that may delay you getting your certificate on the last day of school. So I guess with that side conversation, you will, if you've completed driver's ed and you pass driver's ed, you will get your certificate when you turn your textbook in. So what I plan on doing, I'm currently on military orders, but I have Fridays off. So I plan on doing my last Zoom sessions out at school. So if you want to come out to the school after driver's ed is done, I will be there if you want to come and get your certificate. Obviously, if you wait till later in the afternoon, I probably won't be there. But I will leave all the certificates with Mrs. Daly in the office. I believe her hours are regular hours, 8 to 4. So if you show up at 5 o'clock on a Friday, you're not going to get your certificate. Okay, you'll have to wait till Monday.
I have another question.
Yep.
Okay, so about the wait. No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay. If you remember, just chime in.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Haley.
Okay, so with the kids that have a permit and they don't need the certificate at the end, so then do we automatically get the next like permit or license?
Okay, so what'll happen there is, okay, so Haley, you have your permit?
Yes.
Okay, so when did you get your permit? Do you remember the approximate date or month?
I would have to look, but was when I was 14, so.
Okay. So if you already have your permit, you won't get a certificate at the end of the class. So what's going to happen is when you take the driving portion, then you will get a certificate that has both the classroom and the driving portion stamped. Then you can take that to the DMV and get your restricted license. As long as it's been 90 days since you got your permit, then you'll be able to get your restricted right away. If you, let's say you got your permit last week. Once you finish the driving portion, you still have to wait a total of 90 days since you got your permit. So if you got it,
Right.
well, let's say you got your permit today, June 1st. So then July, August, September, you would be able to get your restricted license approximately around September 1st. So you have to keep your permit for 90 days. If you've already had your permit for 90 days, then you'll be able to get your restricted as soon as you get your certificate.
Okay.
Okay. And again, for those of you who came in a little bit later, one of the first things I talked about was the July 1st deadline. So if you didn't hear this, South Dakota's changing their laws as far as driving goes. If you get your permit after July 1st, you have to wait 6 months instead of 3 months with taking driver's ed. So again, if you are not going to turn 14 until after July, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. But if you are 14 and you don't have your permit yet, get your permit as soon as possible. And the reason why I say that, some of you can wait until driver's ed is done and be fine. But with this whole COVID-19 deal going on, it sounds like they're only doing appointments, you know, and with not being open for the better part of 2 months, they're going to fill up quick. So I would suggest trying to get in and get your appointments done as soon as you can. Elk Point and North Sioux rotate every other Wednesday. I don't know if they're open yet. Vermilion is usually a couple days a week. Last I saw on the website, Yankton was the only one that was currently open. But again, that may have changed. And then after that, it's Sioux Falls. And Sioux Falls is usually 5 days a week. So again, it's up to having a conversation with you and your parents. If they're willing to take you up to Sioux Falls to get your permit to get going on it, great. All good questions. What else do we have?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So where can I drop off the check for the book, and where do I pick up the book or the manual?
It's in the middle school, upper elementary office. Mrs. Daly should have your book, and then you can just leave the check with her. I usually come in and I take the deposits, and then I get them submitted to the business office. So all right there, you can drop up the check and pick up the book right away. What other questions do you have?
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay, so like you said that we'd be using like the classroom app or like, so because we like turned in our computers, do you want us to like download it on like our any source that we're using, like our phone or like something so we can log into it? And then will we receive like a password later for it? Because like I think to get into your classroom or
yeah, actually, let's go ahead and take care of that now. So again, I know Mr. Somervold sent information out, and for some reason, not everyone got emails. And again, I don't know why that happened. But I'm a part of the listserv, so every email that he sent out, I got, and every email that I sent to him that he sent out, I got as well. So if you're missing some information now, again, I'm going to go back to share screen. So driver's education, Zoom 1. There's the password to get into Google Classroom for this session. So I learned things the hard way. I set up Google Classroom on my K-12 email address, and all of my students signed up through DV Schools, and we had problems communicating on tests. So what I did was I set up my driver's education courses on my DV Schools address. So what I would recommend that you do when you sign in for Google Classroom for the driver's ed, please sign in with your DV Schools account. I know your DV Schools email account works. It's open all throughout the summer. If for some reason you feel more comfortable using a different email address, fine. But the only thing I can't guarantee is that when I push out a test or assignment, that it works for you. That's one of the biggest issues that I had with students trying to use a different email address. They couldn't access tests. So I do know that DV Schools will talk to DV Schools. Okay, so this is an automatic code that will get you in. You don't need permission from me to access Google Classroom once you have the code. This is going to be the brains of this class. I will submit, I will keep all your grades here. So if you have a question about grades, check your grades. You have access to that on there. Zoom sessions will be posted here. I tried to do a regularly scheduled one. It wouldn't let me do it. I tried to do a 7 to 8:30 Monday through Friday, and it wouldn't let me do it. So I am going to probably to try and keep the feed limited. I'm going to delete today's Zoom session so we're not polluting it with different links. So I'll delete the link for today and I will post a new link tomorrow. Well, I'll post a new link today for tomorrow's Zoom session. Okay. Everyone get a chance to copy that down? Okay. One thing I do know that's beneficial is the upcoming. So again, when I post things in here, if I have a hard date set, it'll show up there for you. Again, some of the projects I'll probably just put on there and kind of spread them out. Again, some of those are, you know, like the article, it's meant to be due by the end of next week. I may set the article due this Friday, mainly just because if you are following things the way you're supposed to, you know, I don't want you to do every project the night before the last day, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, with the watching the intersection thing, does it have to be an hour straight, or can it be like a few minutes that add up to an hour, or?
I would prefer it to be an hour straight, only because you'll get consistent observation. Am I going to absolutely require it to be an hour straight? No. But I would like you to do the same intersection. And if you really feel like you want to do multiple intersections, I'd prefer that maybe you do 2 intersections and maybe a half hour each. But ideally, I'd like it to be 1 full hour continuous. But again, Are you going to get docked if you don't? No. Also, I guess along with that, the intersection that you do, try to choose an intersection that actually sees some traffic. Like if I go to the intersection where my street is, I live on a cul-de-sac. So if I'm lucky in an hour, I might see 3 cars. And there isn't a stop sign. It's uncontrolled. So I'm not really going to have anything to document other than 1 car drove by at this time. 1 car drove by at this time. That's all I have. So please try to do a busier intersection. Again, do I need to know every single car? If it's like if you go to the intersection of, what is it, Tower Drive and Dunes Boulevard, you're going to be busy. Okay, I do understand that. So I wouldn't need to know every car, but what I would be looking for is a car ran a stoplight, or this car appears to be speeding. You know, just stuff like that. Or this car didn't use a turn signal to turn. Does that make sense as far as what I would be looking for? And again, that's just more so you guys observing driving in general, but being able to point out things that are wrong. Any other questions? Again, I appreciate the fact that you guys are asking questions, and they're all good questions. Yeah, what's up, Paige?
Are all of these like due dates next Friday? Like the 3 of them you mentioned, or like
They all need to be finished before next Friday. Again, I don't really want to set a hard date because, you know, with schedules and everything and the way all this works, you know, they have to be done for you to pass the class. That's the important thing. But so if you decide to do it, so, you know, we talked about the intersection one. If you decide to do the intersection one today and you send me your log, I'll grade it. So the sooner you get it in, the sooner you'll get a grade for it. And, you know, the better you guys will know what your grade looks like in terms of how am I doing in the class? Am I 80% or am I blowing this class out of the water, or am I really struggling? Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
When does the class end?
Next Friday. So a week from this Friday at 8:30 for you guys. I also wanted to make sure, one other thing that I didn't talk about before, I posted in the original email. Since this is so different, I'm going to post office hours. My office hours. So here's the way my schedule goes. I have you guys from 7 to 8:30 approximately. Then I have a whole new class from 8:30 to 10. And then I have to be out at the guard at 11 o'clock. So I film from home. And then after I'm done with my class at 10 o'clock, I've got to go get ready to go to work. So I'm supposed to work till about 6:30 at night, which is why I posted office hours from 7 to 8 o'clock at night. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I will post a link for Zoom office hours. So I will be available from 7 to 8. If you've got a question on something from today's lesson, jump on Zoom, ask your question, I'll answer it, you're good, you can sign off. Okay, but basically I'll just hold a forum and hold an hour Zoom session. So if you have questions, feel free to jump on and ask questions. So my hope is that I'll give you the homework to do for the day. You can start working on it. And if there's something that you need answered, I'll answer it in the evening. So I'll give you some time to work to figure out any issues that you have. Except for Friday. Friday, I'm going to hold a little bit longer office hours. That's from 10 to 12 because I don't work on Fridays. So if you have questions right away, basically I'll hold Zoom right after my last class. But now, if you have a question and you don't want to wait until 7, that's fine. But keep in mind, I probably won't be able to Zoom right away. Depending on if we've got a lot of work to do. I'm working at a call center, helping to identify contacts who have tested positive and getting information for the state. But we do have downtime there. So I may be able to hold a Zoom a little bit earlier if you have questions. But by all means, if you have a question that needs to be answered, shoot me an email and I'll respond back. I usually have, I can usually, if I'm at work, I can usually respond within about an hour. So I mean, if it's something that needs to be done like right away, don't be afraid to email me. Don't be afraid to ask questions. But if you'd rather wait to do a face-to-face Zoom, we can do that too. Because again, I understand it's going to be a lot of work for you guys, but I also want to be here for you to answer every question that you have, because I know there are different levels of drivers. Some of you have been driving for quite a while. You're comfortable with it. And others don't know the difference between an engine and a muffler. So that's why I want to make sure that all of you walk away with some good information and feel more confident about the responsibility you're about to take on. Any other questions?
So there were 3 projects: the article, the intersection observation, and then was it the logging, like, of your family? Was that the 3rd project?
Basically, the 3 main ones that I have right now are going to be the article, the intersection log, and the driving log. Not you driving, but just being a passenger. I mean, unless, you know, if it ends up being a situation whenever you get into a car. When I was 14 and driving under my permit, whenever we went somewhere and I went with my parents, I was the one driving. So I was rarely a passenger because my parents wanted me to practice. So if you'd like to keep kind of a log of that for about an hour, that's fine. I would like at least a portion where you observe somebody else driving. And I'm sure that won't be a big issue if that's part of your assignment for driver's ed. So just tell your parents, hey, I have to observe you driving, so get in the driver's seat. And if any parents are listening to that, sorry. Any other questions? All right, again, I thank you guys for coming today. I know it's not exactly 8:30 yet, but I really need to probably switch over to my other class and get those guys figured out and going. So I'm just going to leave you today with your assignment. So obviously, if you haven't picked up your book, make sure you get that today. If you have any issues, again, please send me an email. If you have questions, send me an email. I might be able to Zoom. So your assignment today is read chapter 1. Take notes on said chapter. And read through chapter 2. If you would like to get started on notes for chapter 2, that's fine. Tomorrow, I am going to look at your chapter 2 or chapter 1 notes. So please have your notes done before tomorrow morning. So before I let you go to answer any questions that you might have, they do have some end of the section questions. They do have an end of the chapter review. No, you do not have to do those. Yes, I would like you to be able to answer those, but I'm not going to look at any of those assignments. I'm not going to look to see if you did it. All I'm going to look at and grade is that you took notes. How much notes should you take? As much as it helps you review for the tests. I'll also post a PowerPoint on Google Classroom that you can look through that'll help you guide throughout the chapter. All right. Any other questions before I let you go? All right, well, I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you get everything set. And like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I might see you tonight at 7 if you have questions on a Zoom. Otherwise, I will see you back here at 7 a.m. All right, have a good day.